Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, as promised earlier today, we're delighted to be joined in the studio by our guest who will be having an in-depth discussion with us about Egyptian-African relations in several fields. We're delighted to be joined this afternoon in the studio by our guest, Dr. Nabil Negmuddin, the international relations expert. Doctor, thank you so much for coming in this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Angie.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So, Doctor, Egypt has always had a very close relationship to its African nations, its African brother countries, and when it assumed really the presidency of the African Union in 2019, we saw a new leap in relations between Egypt and Africa. During its presidency, Egypt sought to promote the AU's 2063 vision. Tell me, what were the main aspects addressed during the presidency of Egypt of the AU?
Actually, the relation between Egypt and its continent, Africa, is one of the three main pillars in the foreign policies of Egypt, the Arabic, the Islamic, and the African. So, going back to history, since the pharaohs, they have traveled to East Africa and Rwanda. People don't know that. And the old Egyptian or the ancient Egyptians, they were quite adventurous to go to Africa. When it comes to the Islamic era, again, from Egypt, Muhammad Ali, when he built the Egyptian army, went the Egyptian ships and marines went to Africa as well.
Yes.
And in the modern times, after 1952, Egypt has played a quite crucial role in helping the liberation movements, the African liberation movements, to get its independence from either the British or the French colony. So Egypt is a founder of the African unity and union movement, starting from Addis Ababa, and Cairo was the capital, which recommended Addis Ababa to be the capital, the base for the African Union. I think during the last 6-7 years, the Egyptian leadership, President Sisi, has granted Africa a great deal of his interest and attention. And if you go to Sharm el-Sheikh Agreement 2015, Egypt has restored its leadership role in Africa, and Cairo returned to be a Mecca for the African leaders, and we still expecting more of cooperation between Cairo and the African continent, African countries, because it is a destiny for Cairo and for Egypt to play such role in the continent.
Absolutely. And now, under the Egyptian leadership and during the presidency of the AU, Egypt played an integral role in the trade relationship and the agreement that was signed between the African nations. Tell me a bit about this agreement. How would this intra-trade agreement differ in the economic relations between African countries, and especially because Egypt is very well situated? It is a windowway, really, and a doorway for Asia as well as Europe to Africa as well. So tell me a bit about that.
Of course. During the presidency of Egypt to the African Union, we managed to get to the every country to sign the free trade agreement, which is going to delete or get rid of the custom tariff. And that is the beginning to get economical union. Africa is able to come up as one of the major powers. But the barriers between the African countries is banning them from being one bloc. With that free trade agreement, I think it is the beginning on the right track to capitalize on the natural resources, human resources, and the population of the continent. That was one great achievement during the presidency. And in Cairo, we have launched a few centers, a center for diseases, and a center for fighting terrorism. And Cairo is stretching its arms in different aspects, in the military side, economic and trade, and fighting terrorism as well. I believe very much we are in the right track regarding the restoring Egyptian role in Africa.
Indeed. Now, Egypt is also playing a very interesting role in many African nations, trying to pull them out of their traditional raw material provider status. Lots of African countries are stuck as just providers of raw material, and helping them with their industrialization, to take the raw material and develop it into something that would make more sense economically for the African nations. How important is this achievement, especially that we've seen lots of Egyptians reaching out to many African countries, investing all around the continent, and really modernizing their industries?
I'm really happy that you are raising this point. We do have an accumulation of technical expertise in Egypt.
Yes, we do.
Since 1954 onwards, we had some
missions and people sent over.
Exactly, and we have some industrial base in Egypt. We should not neglect that great asset. We have to send our young technicians to Africa, and we should really launch a sort of cooperative programs to raise the technical skills of the African unemployed youth who don't have the opportunity to work, they don't have an opportunity to build a family. I believe very much we have something we are not capitalizing on, which is the skills of the technical manpower in Egypt. We should really start to launch a program of establishing technical training centers in the African countries, and create markets for our products. Because if we don't do that, China is replacing or taking the opportunity, India and Israel. Those are main three threats to the Egyptian role in Africa. And I'm afraid to tell you that China has managed to really establish its...
In southern Africa.
All over Africa, east, west, south. And I think this continent belongs to us.
To the Africans,
because Egypt has really invested a lot of money and effort and political lobbying for this continent. But we have neglected Africa for in the middle of this development, and other countries took the chance to replace Egypt.
But indeed, there is a push to really change that perception and really further enrichen the ties between Egypt and Africa.
I have been to Nigeria about 9 months ago. And if you could just, feel the passion of the normal African to Egypt, they look at Egypt as something, big. We have really to capitalize on that.
Absolutely. Right. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today's episode. We've run out of time very quickly today. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Dr. Nabil Nigmuddin, International Relations Expert. Thank you so much for coming in and for your insight.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for today's edition of Cairo Local Time. We do hope you have enjoyed it. You're in the company of myself, Angie Meher. Many thanks for watching.